So is he going to be doing, I guess, the portion of holding the salespeople accountable, like the sales manager piece?
Yes.
Okay, and what's his name again?
Yency, it's Yency.
Yancey.
Tomorrow.
How sweet
Yeah,
is that? That's a cool ass name, Yancey.
you bet.
So Yancey, how long you been with Kip?
Going on 7 years, 6 years.
Damn, and
Seven.
you're still there? What is wrong with you? No, I'm joking.
Keep an eye on our life in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So we've been rolling out the maximum capacity model there, and just talking through Kip. Um, he said he felt like he was missing some things, and I said, well, the comfort advisors weren't closing at the right rate, and I said, well, the first of all, we have to look first of all and see, is it them? Meaning, are we running the leads fast enough? There's a lot of things we have to make sure we're doing before we even worry about speaking to the comfort advisors. And so I talked to Kip on certain things. Now, Kip, have you looked at making the change as far as on how the techs get paid?
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to introduce that.
Okay. And so remember the goal of that call, Jim, just to bring you up to speed, he paid his guys, I think it was $100 for a half system, 200 for a full. And I said, well, the one issue with that is that promotes half systems as okay, right? When if they're not, I mean, if they only have a half, that's okay. But so the other thing is it doesn't help us control the closure rate. And the first thing, Yancey, to a closure rate from a comfort advisor's perspective, the first thing I look at is how long is it taking us to run the leads? Would you agree, Yancey, if we book the turnover and we book one for today and then we also book one, it was 2 weeks out, which one do you think has a better opportunity of closing?
The one from today.
Yeah. So just to let you know, at all my shops, my averages, and I expect you to uphold the same, would be if we ran the lead the same day. So if we turned it over and ran it today, we close those at 80%, 80, as an average. And then the second day, I mean, if we turned it over today and it ran tomorrow, we close those at 66%. And so that's why the and Kip he hasn't used it yet, but that's why the Comfort Advisor sales plan on the website, it's called the Next Star Comfort Advisor sales plan, says if we have the leads ran within 48 hours, we should close at 66%. So if he says y'all are closing at 45, well, the very first thing I do is I look, are we running them within 48 hours? And then we found out through that conversation that your pay plan doesn't promote that. So Jim, what I'm recommending he does is he basically has a meeting with his techs and go, guys, look, we're doing a really good job on your leads, meaning if we run them fast, we're closing them at a high percentage. If we run them 5 days out, we're terrible at them. So we want to basically give you a raise if we run them within 48 hours. So if we run them today or tomorrow, I'm going to pay you more than you're getting now. And your average ticket, Kip, would you say it was $9,800 or something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty close right in there.
Okay. So Jim, what I recommended does is he presents it to him just like that and said, so guys, if you control the lead being ran today or tomorrow, you're doing a really good job at getting that. Our company advisors do a really good job of closing those. As a matter of fact, you can go ahead and use the numbers and say they're closing them at 66%. The problem is we're running too many after tomorrow. And so that's causing our average to drop into the 40s. So here's what I'm going to do. If you facilitate the lead getting ran today or tomorrow, meaning if you're out there today, if it's ran today or tomorrow, I'm going to give you now 3% of the sale, which on our average ticket, that'd be about an $80 increase in what you're getting now. But on the other side of the coin is if it runs after tomorrow. So today being Monday, if it runs Wednesday or later and closes, I'm going to cut that in half. You're only going to get paid 1.5%. And by doing this, your technicians will now make sure that it's getting ran within that 2-day period. Okay. And now, so I will tell you this, about 90% of my shops paid 2% on the first 2 days, one the next. And I did have some that paid one, three, three and 1.5, but 90% of them, if not more, were 2 and 1. So, Yancy, just to let you know, so 3% that is the highest in the nation that I see get paid to a technician for turning, by the way. And your guys should know that. That's a lot of damn money. Okay. All right. So by doing that, Yancy, we will now control our leads being ran quicker. So once that's in place, you're probably going to see your comfort advisor's closure rate go up a little bit. Maybe from, let's just say it goes from 45 to 55. Hell, it might go from 45 to 66. I don't know. But it just depends on how far y'all are allowing them to be booked out. So once that happens, well, the next thing I asked Kip and says, well, what are we doing to hold these guys accountable if they're getting a 0 ticket? And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, are we allowing them to leave? And so there's no process put in place there. So then what and I'm assuming that's what Kip wants me to cover on this call, is what a sales manager should do to hold these guys accountable. Is that what you want me to go over, Kip?
That, and what training we need to give the sales guys, and what type of structural, training, I guess, would be good to help them out.
Okay.
And then when we have another guy starting in about 3 weeks, we're going to be onboarding, and he's going to be the sales manager specifically.
Okay.
So we're going to have to get him up and running, so that'd be some stuff I'd like to cover.
Okay. Well, we're limited on time because obviously I got 5 members of my own that I'm dealing with. So I will go through what a sales manager should do to hold them accountable on the individual call. And then you said, well, what training we're going to do. So here's what imagine this. You onboard somebody. Let me just walk you through my onboarding for a salesperson. If they have a technical background, I mean, they've sold HVAC before, right? I have them come on, and before you know it, I let them go install in the field for at least a week. I have them literally ride with my installers and put systems in for at least a week. And the reason I do that is because salespeople don't take them, or they take them for granted. They really don't understand, how important these guys are to us. Are you going to be able to? Are you going to the Leadership Spotlight in March?
Yes.
All right. So in Leadership Spotlight, I'm going to be on stage talking about how important installers are and sales managers are, and the new classes that we got coming. So I am going to break that down to more of a granular level. So when they go to a class, I'm going to give one of the things that we're going to be teaching in the class is called the day in the life of a sales manager. And it will break that down to what he's supposed to do at 10 o'clock. I mean, it breaks, we're going to break it all the way down. Sales lead coordinator, sales manager, install manager, an install coordinator. So you'll be able to get a lot of that stuff through the classes. But I'm bringing that up because, so my guys, when they get onboarded, they always ride with an install crew for about a week, and they watch them what they do. Well, then my guys that are already sold HVAC, well, then the next week, I bring them in and teach them about our company. What do we want them to go over in the field? How to use our price book and everything that we have to use internally. And so typically a guy's he's running in 2 weeks if he's already sold HVAC before. If he's not, it takes me 3 weeks because the third week, second and third week, he's riding on installs. The second week, he's actually in a classroom with me or somebody learning the technical side. How do you size systems, enough to be dangerous, how to read model numbers, serial numbers, that type stuff. And then the third week, he's learning, our presentation book and about our company. So it takes me about 3 weeks to get a guy that's never sold heating and air units to sell heating and air. It takes me 2 weeks to get a guy in the field who's sold it before. Right? So now you said that you want to know what kind of training is there for them. I'm a firm believer, if they're closing my KPIs, right, I'm not going to mess with them. So that's why I want you to get these leads ran within the 48 hours. And then if they're not closing the 66% at that point, the next thing I want you to look at is your technicians. So Yancy, does your techs, like if I'm going to ask you, if let's say I'm a homeowner and you're a technician and I'm on a call and you're getting ready to turn a lead over. If I ask you as a tech and say, well, what's a new one cost? What is the answer your technicians tell the customer?
Okay. The one is that is a great question for the comfort consultant that they're getting into their home. And there's a little bit of an explanation with that due to the training they get compared to the training the comfort advisors get.
Okay,
And
so
then, go ahead.
I was going to say, but I'm the homeowner. You're the tech. What is I want you to tell me what your technicians say. So I need to know about what this thing's going to cost before I set an appointment. So what's it cost?
Okay, so that answer I gave you is the first one, and the other one is that what they have heard from the comfort advisor is that this kind of systems run anywhere from $100 to $400 a month if they have to go that far.
Okay.
With the customer.
And so you can, I'm glad that if they prep, I'm glad they're prepping monthly, but all right, let's say that you prep me monthly and I said, you know what, I'm just going to pay for a check. So how much is this going to charge? How much is this going to be?
At that point, the tech is just to say, let's get the comfort advisor over here as soon as possible so he can get you those answers.
Okay. So the very thing that I'm checking here is, first, are we running within 48 hours? The next thing is, do our guys give an idea? So I want you to set each one of your techs down and make sure they can spit off something similar to what you said, or I just want to make sure they're not giving an idea, because some of our schools, the Next Star schools, do say give them a range. I'm personally going to tell you, as a sales genius, you ready for this? That is
Yes.
that is not a good thing to do unless you're the guy selling it. So a selling tech can give a range. I do not want your techs prepping the customer. That will kill a closure rate. That will kill an average ticket. So I'm going to give you word for word what they need to say. And it's the only thing I found that works on every customer. Because what you're doing, what you told them, and it's probably what you've been trained, is they're not telling them, or they give them a range in its payment, but they're beating around the bush a little bit. So like if I was a customer and I said, well, surely, Yancey, you've been doing this 20 years. You got some idea what this costs. Can you at least give me an idea? If your techs go $5,000 to $10,000, $7,000 to $10,000, or whatever, they can kill your comfort advisor's closure rate. So here's what I always train techs to tell them. If a customer asks me how much does it cost, the first thing I say is, well, that's why I need to get one of the comfort advisors, the trained specialist out here, because I don't know. Listen to these magic words. I don't know. Yancey, and so whether they know the customer's name or not, let's say you're my customer, I'm gonna say, well, that's why I need to get the trained specialist out here, because I don't know. I just don't keep up with those anymore. For example, and you can just tell them, you say, I'm a mechanic. I can fix every heating and air system out there. Just because the mechanic can fix the car doesn't mean he knows what the car cost. Yancey, because if you got one, right, that was a convertible, one without, there's going to be price difference in those. And I quit keeping up with that years ago. It's just too complicated. I just fix things. And so I wanted to repeat it and just go, so I don't know, but I'll be more than happy to get the guy out here. Because if the customer ever thinks that you know and you're beating around the bush and you don't tell them, okay, that's going to start to create this negative snowball that will affect that comfort advisor. So it's simply best if you just go, I don't know. That's why I get the specialist out here, and just tell them, say, I quit keeping up with that stuff years ago. I'm a mechanic. I can fix every heating and air system out there. Just because the mechanic, right, can fix every car doesn't mean know what they cost. And then give an example. If I'm dealing with a man, a lot of times I go, one with the four-wheel drive costs more than one without. And I quit keeping up with that stuff years ago, so I don't know anymore. And then I say, that's what I'll get him out here for. And you set the appointment. But what's magical is when the tech says, I don't know, it's humbling enough to shut the customer up. Versus if he just beats around the bush, they'll read into that. and they'll keep pestering him, and he'll give them a range. So we have to make sure that your guys can never give a range.
Okay.
So once you go over that with your text, I want them to practice that in a training meeting, and you beat them up. And I say beat him up. When he says he don't know, you say, well, surely you got some idea. I mean, is it going to be at least $5,000?
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to go, what if he goes, well, yeah, I mean, it could be. He needs to keep saying, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And keep just reflecting back to that. And so once those two pieces are in place, we should close 66%. And if we're not, right, then I want you to say the next thing you're doing. And I mentioned this to Kip, and so like right now, Yancey, the guys, do they report to you now, the salespeople?
What do you mean by report? Like after calls?
Well, I mean, who's their boss right now?
Well, me.
Okay. Do they know you're their boss?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say that we have a little bit of an issue because we're kind of both their bosses, depending on our availability, who's available.
Okay. Do you have an organization chart, and is it posted somewhere with who reports to who?
No.
Okay. So you might want to go back and look at your organizational chart, and if you don't have one, you probably need to create one. And here's the way I see it. Whether you're $1 million company or you're a $30 million company, there's all these hats in this business. And these hats have to be filled regardless of the size of your business. So by you creating this organizational chart, you now can put people's names in the hats. And yes, the smaller you are, the more names you're going to have. And it is going to create confusion, and you'll lose some responsibility and stuff. But so with that being said, if Yancey's name is in the sales manager hat, right, then they have to call him, meaning that they would report to him. And in the event if they're not there, well, then they go to the next guy on the line, which should be you. We shouldn't put yours and his name in the hat.
Okay.
And so what happens there is now they know they report to Yancey. Yancey can set the expectation. So because how many do you have? You got 2 comfort advisors? Is that what you got?
We have
Okay.
3 sales.
Okay, 3. So you bring them in and you say, hey guys, one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be implementing, basically a check-in call that you have to check in and speak with me before leaving, right, before you go to your next call. And I want that to be done live with the customer. And the first thing they're going to say is, well, what the hell does that mean? You'd say, well, I want you to call me on speakerphone when you're with the customer if you're leaving with a 0 ticket, basically an unclosed call. And then the next thing I'm going to say, all right, well, what am I going to say? That I'm leaving? And you're going to say, well, good news is here's the scripts. Okay. And the first close, have you had a chance to look at those closes yet?
I didn't look at them very closely.
Okay. So Yancey, these closes, the first one that you have to master is called the concession close. Okay. And you personally have to master this. Okay. Because what these guys do is when they call you with a 0 ticket, you're letting them know you're calling me in order to salvage the job, to see if we can save it. You're not calling me with excuses or reasons why it didn't close, because that's what they're going to try to do. Salespeople have egos, right? And they're going to call you and they're going to try to give you excuses of why this unit didn't sell. So that's why you have to master the concession close. So when they call you with these excuses, then you can show them how to close it. Right? Well, the next issue is then they'll start to see that it can be done, and you'll want to have your meetings in the morning and train them how to do the concession close. Well, once they know how to do the concession close, then you have to learn the scripts, and then they do of what's called the high authority close. There should never be a sales manager alive that doesn't at least know the concession and the high authority. Now, there's a lot more closes, but those are 2 that are mandatory. If you're going to work for me, you got to learn those, and you got to know them so much. If I'm walking down the hallway, if I just ramble some shit off, you ought to be able to spit them out. That's how important they are to your business. So right now, I think, Kip, you're closing about 45% of your Comfort Advisor tech leads. Is that right?
I think, yeah.
Okay. So if we put in place all the leads, or 90% of them are ran within 48 hours, we put in place that a tech can never give a prep on a price. Matter of fact, when we train it, we don't just ask it. We want to train him to where, if you're walking down a hallway and you look at a tech and go, hey, how much is that system going to cost? You want him to be able to spit it out. When that's in place, you put in the concession close, you're going to close 66% or better. You cannot not do it if you're doing this on all the calls. Now, you might say, well, what is the concession close? Have you ever heard of it, Yancey?
No, I have not. Well, recently we've been learning about this maximum capacity.
Okay. So are you familiar? Have you been to the service system school?
Yes.
All right. So you're familiar with the wheel and the 5 reasons people don't buy, which is you, solution, right? You, company, solution, price, and time. Well, the concession close is that when the wheel was originally written, this is the scripting to the wheel. Just the original president of Nexstar at the time didn't want the script because he said it was sales. Well, that's 1998 or whenever it was. Now it's a different world, meaning that obviously we don't have a problem, and I don't have a problem then, but now that everybody's reading these scripts, they don't have a problem with them versus you go back, 20 years ago, some people had issues with them because they were script for sales. We wanted to teach processes, and now we are teaching more sales. So the way this works, just to walk you through the concession, the way it works is 100% of people have a breaking point. 100%. Some of them is through price. Some is through value. Meaning that if I'm at your house, you can get 100% of people to agree to do business with this. It doesn't mean we're going to do business with 100%. To give an example, let's say that you quoted a job and it's $10,000. Well, you might get, I don't know, you might get 80 or 50% of those to agree to do it at $9,000. You might get another 10% to agree to do it at $7,000, right? And you might get the other 30% or whatever degree to do it at $5,000. It doesn't mean we have to do it for $5,000, but what you have to do is you have to get a master at finding their breaking point. And then once they do, meaning the company advisor finds their breaking point, he now leaves that up to you whether you decide if you want to do it or not. Because would you agree if, let's say that you need a job for tomorrow, and you got an empty spot, an install spot, would you agree that if your job's $9,000, that you might accept that job at $7,000 to fill tomorrow? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
You might do it at $6,000. You might do it at $5,000. The problem is right now is you're leaving it up to your comfort advisors to determine that. We don't do that. We have to teach them the steps to find the breaking point, and then at that point they leave it up to you. So in a perfect world, there's a perfect sale, like SALE, there's an imaginary line between, let's say you're the customer, between me and you. I'm trying to always get you to come to my side. If I can't, well, the concession close has me going to your side. So now it's me and you on the same side, and then the guy you call into on the other side. So in this example, if I was the comfort advisor, Kip was the customer, and you're Yancey, the manager, I'm going to constantly get Kip to try to come to my side. And if I cannot, I'm going to step to his side. I'm going to go through the close, and then I'm going to call in and go to bat for behalf of Kip. But now it's me and Kip against you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's all the close does, is it walks you through finding somebody's breaking point. Now, what I recommend you do is you learn, there's 2 ways to close it, or a combination of 2 ways. I recommend you learn it on price first, and that's the way I've written the script. Basically, it finds the breaking point through price. Once you master that, and then I want you to start pushing, trying to close it on value. But it's hard to close value before they learn to close price. But the reason being, it's about a confidence level. If you can't get the guys doing the close and feeling really, really, really comfortable with it, it's hard to close on value, meaning using this close. I gave Kip an example of a call about a chainsaw. You remember that, Clip?
Yes.
That's nuts to think that comfort advisor was going to walk away from an $8,200 sale for $289 in value that we had to throw in free to get that job. But since I know the clothes, obviously it was easy to do. So I've sent Kip the scripts. He needs to get them to you. If you want me to, I'll go through it with you real quick. But the point is you now got to set the expectation with your comfort advisors and say, guys, we're gonna require this, and they're gonna be like, well, what are we supposed to say? Well, here's what we're supposed to say. You give them the script, and the way I want you to learn it is y'all just sit in a classroom. If there's 4 of you, you across from one, the other one across from the other. One be the customer, one be the sales guy. Just go through it back and forth until you get very, very comfortable with it to where they can just ramble it off. And if you did it every day for an hour, you'll have it within the end of the week. If you just touch it once a day, it might take you 3 or 4 months if you do it an hour a week. So I prefer you do it multiple days in a row, maybe an hour a day for 2 weeks, and you'll have it mastered. And then they can roll into the high authority. What questions do you have so far? Because right now I'm just teaching you about the concepts. I'm not really, I've not really done any training other than telling you got to have these things in place. And once you have them in place, then you can start, judging to see if we're doing a good job or not.
Well, right now I don't have any. It sounds like you even plan for the pushback that could be expected. So right now it's getting to learn it.
Yeah, you're gonna get the pushback, and the way the call went with Kip. I'll walk you through his call real quick. I had a sales manager and a general manager that was off, and this should never happen. I was stupid, and I say that when you're distant, you don't get to see the whole thing. Both of them were off on vacation. Well, we have it mandatory. You have to do the high authority in concession close. So they had to call somebody. So this salesman calls me, and his name was Grady. He says, hey, Scott, I'm calling you because I'm supposed to call, before I leave out here. This customer's not buying anything. I mean, they'll go out of their way to prove to you the customer's not buying just so they don't look bad. And I said, all right, Grady, well, I appreciate you calling me. So let me ask you this. He told me a little bit about the house. The customer just purchased it 2 months ago, got an old system, came with the house, and so I said, Grady, is there anything else the customer? Well, I said, first of all, if you told the customer my situation about having, no install job for tomorrow for a crew? He goes, I sure did, Scott. They don't want to do anything. I said, okay, Grady. Does the customer have any other product that they want in their house that maybe I can help them with? I said, for example, are all of their appliances in the kitchen stainless steel except one? And then maybe, and he goes, no, Scott, I've already looked. They're all brand new appliances. So this guy was doing everything in his power to sell me on why that they're not buying. And I said, Grady, if you don't mind, can I just talk to the customer? He goes, yeah, you can. You're on speakerphone. I said, good. So I'm talking to the homeowner. I said, I don't remember his name, but I said, so you just moved in the house, is that right? He said, yep, about 2 months ago. I said, wonderful. And I said, so you had Grady out there today, and obviously I know Grady. He loves his people, customers, so I'm sure he treated you well. But your system, if I understand correctly, your system is older, and someday you'll probably replace it, right? He said, oh yeah, someday, but it's working right now. And I said, well, it's probably costing a lot on energy bills. And he goes, well, I don't know because we just moved in the house. I said, well, I know you don't know, but I know. It's definitely costing your energy bill. I think he said it was 18 years old or whatever it was. And I said, all right, well, let me tell you my problem. My problem is this. I love my employees more than anything in the world. Meaning, that basically I got to make sure every one of them's happy. And my dilemma is we're normally busier right now than we currently are. And so I've got an install crew tomorrow that has no job. I know Grady said he let you know that, but now you get to hear it from the horse's mouth. So if you're ever going to get a new system installed, I'm more willing to work with you, right, if you allow us to do it tomorrow. Because if we can do a system tomorrow, my guys get their hours in, right, they get to work, they're going to feel better about it. Because if they don't get their hours in, they're going to go home, and they're only going to do that so long. For you know it, I've lost good people, and I'm sure you're aware good people are hard to find. So now that you know my dilemma, I'm going to ask you, what can I do to earn your business for tomorrow? If you really are going to get this replaced, You know, I said, is there anything in life? Now, the guy, Grady did tell me that the guy paid cash for the house. You know, he told me that privately. So at this point, I'm not working on cutting price. I'm not working on saving him money, you know, because he probably doesn't care to save much money. I'm going straight for value. So I said, at this point, is there anything anything in us in the house that you want that maybe you don't have? And I said, I'm just going to give you some examples. Now, and I told Kip, I said, Kip, I'm not telling you to do what I'm doing here. I'm just going to show you that 100% of people have a breaking point. You have to get creative and find it. So I said, is there anything in the house that you don't want? And I said, for example, I mean, do you have a new push mower, or maybe you need one? He goes, no, I got a new mower. I said, well, how big is the lot you bought? And he said, it was an acre. Whatever. I said, do you have any trees in there? He said, sure do. And I said, well, when a tree falls, it's going to fall because you're going to have one fall in a storm. It's going to hit the ground. You know, do you have a chainsaw? You can cut one up. He said, no, sir, but I thought about buying one. I said, well, let me ask you this. If you were to fill that spot for me tomorrow, that would help me out. And so if you help me out, I'd be willing to buy you the most fanciest chainsaw in the world. He said, chainsaw, really? What are you saying? And I said, well, how about this? What if you went to Home Depot's website and you picked out the fanciest chainsaw they have to offer? Whatever it is, I don't care. And I said, if you were to do that, you pick that chainsaw out. I'm telling you, if you allow me to do the job tomorrow and fill that spot, I'm telling you, I will purchase that chainsaw for you. And the guy goes, yeah, all right, that sounds like a good deal. Go ahead and put me down for tomorrow, and I'll go find the chainsaw I want. As silly as this is, again, I'm not telling you to go offer chainsaws. I'm letting you know 100% of people have a breaking point. It's either through cutting the price, it's either through adding value, or a combination of both. Do you know how many customers I've given water heaters to that we did not even install water heaters? I mean, basically, they would say they were at a house and they had a 6-7 year old water heater, and I would say, well, look, you know they're going to rust out, it's going to go bad. So if I was to give you a free water heater, not installed, but just give you one, you put it in your garage, because when that goes bad, you're going to need it. Would you allow my guys would you allow me to let my guys get their hours in tomorrow? Or it might be as simple as this. What if I was to make it a 10-year warranty versus a 5-year warranty? You know? So sometimes it's throwing in a free air scrubber. But the concession close has the steps that walk you through finding the breaking point. So does that give you a good idea of how the concession works? You know, the scripting is if I could, you would you. Basically, if it was all about price, you're going to say, you tell the story about the schedule. It makes sense. You get the guy to commit to a price. You're not offering the price. You're basically saying, I'm going to go to bat for you, and if I can do this, will that help you? And you're going to basically go through the steps and find the guy's breaking point. And once you do, then you actually go to bat for him. You don't go to bat until you find the breaking point. And again, sometimes it's through value, sometimes it's price, sometimes it's a combination of both.
So should the conversion rate that we're expecting out of our comfort advisors be the same?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That's when you'll close at least 66% is when they're doing this process.
And then 88 when we're running the leads.
80 the same day, but now again, I don't expect an 80. I expect 66. So if we close some the same day, great. That's better. But we need to close 66 or better. If not, we're missing one of these processes.
Okay.
And again, I'll send you the script. You want to learn the concession, and it's basically you're trying to close them however you can. If you can't close them, right? Meaning from a comfort advisor in home, if you can't close them, well, then you're going to their side and you're going to bat on their behalf through some stories. And when you're getting a commitment on price, even though they don't offer the price, they're not the one discounting it. And then there's a manager script side of the high authority. So when they get, let's say that they call in and they get a commitment. To give an example, there's 3 sides to the manager script. You're either going to accept it. So they might call in and go, hey, he said he'll do it for $5,000. If we can do it tomorrow. You look at the schedule and you either accept it or you don't. That's one of them. The other is you make a counteroffer, and the scripting tells you how to make a counteroffer and how the comfort advisor must respond to your counteroffer. It's very important that he does it the right way. And then the last one is, I'm sorry, there's actually four, but the fourth one I've only trained to one sales manager in my life, but I'll go ahead and give it to you. So the last one is their offer's so low, you don't even make a counteroffer because you don't even want to insult them. Those are the three. Either you accept it, you make a counteroffer, or you don't. You just basically go, you know what? Excuse me. You say, you know what, Yancey, I really, what I like most about you is how much you love your customers and you really go to bat for them. And man, you really want to give them the best price they possibly can get. I appreciate you doing that for that customer. Now imagine you're on speakerphone. And the way it works is when you call in, you don't say, I'm sitting here with my customer. You basically call in and there's a code in it. It says you call in and go, hey, if I'm the salesperson, I call in and go, hey, Yancey, 1075, you got a minute? All I said, or you say, hey, Yancey, this is Comfort Advisor 1075, you got a minute? That means you're on speakerphone, the customer can hear you. That's that code, 1075. And when I originally wrote these, 1075 is the Tennessee Highway Patrol's code for, hey, somebody can listen to our private conversation. That's all it means. But you're on speakerphone, right? And so now that's why the close works so well, is because I'm talking to you and the customer can overhear it. And if you do it correctly, I'm telling you, it flows beautifully. But if you said, hey, I'm sitting here with my customer, then the close doesn't work. I might as well just talk to the customer directly. So I'll send you the scripts to them. I think they're pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, you can expect feedback. Half the guys they're going to think it's degrading. They don't want to call you. And then when they do call you, they're going to try to preach to you why they did a good job and the customer's just not buying and nobody can close them. That's why you have to learn to close. You just take over and close it yourself. Once they see that happen a few times, they'll want to start to do the close.
I agree. So would you say that say that I get a call from a comfort advisor right off the bat as soon as we have our code and we know what he's calling, to start the conversation with, have you told the customer my situation idea?
All right, so part of that, I didn't hear it all. You said, all right, they call in, they're on speakerphone, then what'd you say?
No, I said, so say that I get a call from a comfort advisor, right?
Yeah.
So would it be a good way to start the conversation with, have you told the customer my situation? And then,
well, I would say play it by ear, because if he does a good job on his close, on the concession close, he's going to use that. Because remember the wheel, you got, you, right, or the company solution, price, and time. Well, our number one negotiating tool as a salesperson is time. And that's what the concession closes focuses on, is I'm going to lock down time. So here's the key. Let me just walk you through it real quick. Let's say I give you a price, and first of all, in order to close any sale, they got to narrow it to one product. So let's say we narrowed it down to this product. Let's say it's a 5-year warranty, 1-year parts system, whatever it is. And if you're paying cash or payment, they have to narrow that down in the home. And then let's say I narrow it down to you're a cash buyer and it's 5-year parts, 1-year labor. So then let's say the price is $8,000. When they first learn to close off price, here's the way it's going to sound. The actual true concession close like this. So if I understand you correctly, Yancey, you do want to do this. You're just saying the $8,000 is too much money. Is that what you're saying? Act like you're the customer.
Yes.
Okay. So Yancey, well, let me ask you this. So at this point, it's $8,000. So I want to see you get this taken care of. You know you're going to get taken care of, but at this point, you're just saying it's too much money. So let me ask you this. What if I'm able to call my boss and somehow, just magically, somehow, I can get him to do it at a price that you're more comfortable with? If I could somehow arrange that, would that help you out?
Yes, of course.
Okay, but we know it's not near the $8,000 number. So now, Yancey, in order to call my boss and go to bat for you, I need to know about what you're thinking. And let me go and tell you, the customers always say this first. I don't know, that's what you're here for. It's what they say all the time.
Mhm.
And so I understand that, Yancey. That's why I'm here, and the price I've given you is $8,000. But I need to know about what you're thinking. If I'm a really good at bat for you, I mean, so let me ask this: do you think if my boss agrees to do the work for $7,500, do you think that will help you?
Yes.
Well, most of the time they're going to go, well, yeah, but it's still not enough. Okay.
Mhm.
And you want to do it in chunks. You can say 70, you can say, 250 basically off. I went straight to $500 off. And so if you notice my words, I'm saying, will that help you? I'm not saying,
Yeah.
will you do it? Because will you do it is you can still put your guard up versus
You
will
mean?
it help you? All right. So let's say, what was the number I just gave you? 7,500. So, all right, Yancey. Well, I mean, surely, surely if I can get my boss to agree to 7,250, that'll help you, won't it?
Yes. That'll be better.
That okay, be better. But so here's what you're looking for when you're doing this close. You're trying to make sure it's definite. There's nothing worse than calling into a boss and he goes, okay, well, let me still think about it. So if I don't hear definite, you heard my words. I said help, and then I changed it to surely.
Mm-hmm.
I might change it to maybe in the middle, then surely. But regardless, let's say you go, well, 7250, yeah, that's definitely better. But if I saw any hesitation in your voice, I'm gonna say, Yancey, I still know some hesitation there. I know you said 7250 is okay. So let me ask you this. I'm just gonna shoot on a limb here. If I was able to call my boss and he said 7,100, that way it saves you another 150. Do you feel a lot better about that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Sounds
okay.
better.
So good. So again, so in order for me to do this, I'm going to call my boss. I want to make sure you're 100% comfortable. If he agrees to 7,100, you're going to allow us to do the work today. Is that right?
Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So you noticed I went from helping you to I'm locking you down on price. So think of the wheel. I've now locked down price. Well,
Yes. You have.
I locked you down on price. I didn't lock the company down, meaning
Mm-hmm.
that I've not even gone to bat for you. I didn't tell you we could do it. I'm basically locking you. So now here's the mistake. You never lock down, you never go lock down price on the company. I mean, I don't call in yet until I lock down time. The best salespeople always lock down time before they lock down price. Because if they don't, what happens is they say, I appreciate that's your lowest price. Let me get a few other estimates and I'll get back with you. So now what I've done is you've agreed to 7,100. So this is how it comes up. All right, well, cool, Yancey. I'm gonna go ahead and call my boss and see what he can do for you. Now, Yancey, when I call my boss, he's gonna ask me something. So let me go and tell you, what he's gonna ask me. He's first thing he's gonna say. I already know it. He's gonna say, Scott, if I'm willing to help Yancey, is he willing to help me? Let me explain what he means by that. So, Yancey, my boss's name is Jim Hamilton, the great Jim Hamilton, super nice guy, right? So let me tell you, he's a super nice guy. He loves his employees. As a matter of fact, he wants to make sure that they are all able to get their hours in. They're 40 hours a week. He truly loves his people. So I noticed before I came out here, there was an install crew that did not have a job tomorrow. So what's going to happen is if that job doesn't get filled, they go home. If they go home, they're only going to do that so long, so many days that they don't get work. Well, if they do that for a long period of time, before you know it, Yancey, they're actually going to get on Craigslist, and before you know it, they're working somewhere else. So he makes it known to all of us, the company advisors, that our number one responsibility is to make sure that our people have work. So when he says, is he willing to help me out? That's what he means. He's saying, is he willing to fill my next available spot? And Yancey, that's tomorrow. So I can tell you this, if you're willing to fill tomorrow's spot, he's more willing to help you with your price. So I'm going to ask you that. So are you willing for allow us to do the work for tomorrow?
Yes.
Let's say the customer said no.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't take off work. Well, my guys were saying, here's what's funny is these guys people will take a personal day to take off work, right?
Mm-hmm.
For any stupid ass reason.
You bet.
So when they say, well, no, I can't tomorrow, I got to work. My guys are trained to go, all right, well, you see, we got a dilemma there. If you help us fix his dilemma, he's willing to work with you. As a matter of fact, let's just say you make $150 a day. Don't know if you do, really don't care, Yancey. But I'm telling you, if you take a personal day tomorrow, right, you can get paid for your personal day at work. What about this? Instead of 7,100, what if I can get my boss to agree to 6,950? So that way you get to take a personal day, and he'll pay you for what you wage. Is that good enough for you to take off for tomorrow? The point is, we control our schedule, not the customer. You have to get a master at getting them to commit to this spot before you call in. But let's just say you said, no, I can do it for tomorrow. Well, then at that point, he's going to say, okay, well, let me call. So he's locked you down on price, your price. We haven't locked down. So we, as a company, have already closed you, the company, solution, and time. And now I got to call my boss to close price. Here's the way that call goes. Hey, Jim, this is Scott, Comfort Advisor 1075. You got a minute? Yeah, hey, Scott, go ahead, buddy. I ain't talked to you in a while. How you doing? He's going to treat it just like we've never spoken before, or it's been a while. And he is on speakerphone. I don't say I'm sitting there with my customer. He basically goes, yeah, Scott, this is Jim. How you doing, buddy? I hope everything's going okay. What's going on? What can I help you with? Hey, Jim, let me tell you, I'm at a customer's house. Super nice guy. His name is Yancey. And let me tell you what he's got going on. All right, one of the techs came out here, and they found a repair. It's going to be about a $250 repair. He didn't know if he wanted to put that much money into it. The main reason, Jim, is because he's overpaid about 28% on his electric bill. And so he said he's not going anywhere, so he thought he'd get an estimate, and that's what I'm out here for. So, Jim, I've given him a few options, and one of the options I've given him, or the option he likes best the most, roughly comes to $7,000, and it's a 14-steer, 2-stage widget, whatever the product is, right? Now, Jim, at this point, he said he's not going to do anything, or he was willing not to do anything and was just going to roll the dice and see how long it would last. I told him our situation, that our schedule was not full tomorrow, and he said, well, yeah, I mean, he would fill that spot basically to help us out, but he wanted something in return. So what he's agreed to, instead of the job being, $7,000, he's agreed to do the job for $6,100 if we can fill tomorrow's spot. Now, Jim, I wouldn't ask you this for a few reasons. One of the reasons I'm asking you is because when I'm looking at the job, it seems like to me it looks like it might be a little easier than normal. It's definitely a job they'll get done tomorrow. And then I know how important it is you to fill that spot and make sure those guys get their hours in. So, Jim, here's what I'm asking you. Is there any possible way that you can help Yancey out, by doing the $7,000, whatever, doing the job for $6,100? If you could do that for us, I would really appreciate it. So, Jim, can you help us out? Now, if you notice, there's the part of this scripting is I'm now shifting from Yancey to us. If you heard me, help us out. The whole point of this is if I truly go to bat for you as the customer, Jim could come back and say no. But since I treated you so special, some customers will say still do it. Because now they want to look like the hero. They want to fill the spot. Or if Jim comes back and makes a counteroffer. So there's typically three ways this goes. Jim says yes. And here's the way he says if he says yes. He goes, Yancey, you know what? Now, again, you're on speakerphone. The customer's listening. So Jim's going to say this to you and you only, and the customer gets to hear it. And you'll say, Yancey, you know what? I really respect you. And let me tell you what I like most about you, Yancey. Well, first of all, he might say, Yancey, you've been doing this a long time, and I really respect you. But let me tell you what I like most about you, Yancey. You never fail to meet my expectations of how much you love your customers. You always go to bat and try to get the best price for them as possible. And I really appreciate that. So I tell you what. If they help me out by filling that schedule, I'm going to go ahead and, obviously you said the job's easier than normal. You feel it's going to be done. I'm going to take your word on it. We're going to go ahead and do it for the $6,100. So here's what I want you to do. Please put on your paperwork that I approve this, because I don't want accounting to pester you. But the next thing I want you to do is when you see the customer, do me a favor. Tell them how much I really, really appreciate it, and just thank them for me. Can you do that for me? So that's the response if you do it. And then you come back and go, oh my God, I really appreciate it, Jim. Matter of fact, they're right here. They heard everything and blah, 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 blah. And you wrap it up. So that's how you do it. If it's yes, you still got to, I mean, it's a script, right? You still got to go through it. If it's, I'm making a counter offer, well, if you noticed, we shifted from it being you against the customer. It's now Jim against you two. You went
Yes.
from, you're now on the customer side. Well, the better you go to bat for the customer, the more you get to make the decision now. So here's what happens. No matter what the counteroffer is, I want you to accept it. You, as the comfort advisor, has to learn to accept it on behalf of the customer. So here's the way that goes. Yancey, you've been doing this a long time, and I really respect your opinion. And you know what I like most about you? It's the same intro. Blah, 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 blah. You really go to bat for the customer. But Yancey, if I know anything about you, is, where I said you really love the customer, you want to get them, the best price or the best negotiated price as possible, you've probably already discounted in some way without putting it on paper. You've probably already, so put it this way, Yancey, if you quoted them $7,000, it's probably an $8,000 job because you love your customer so much. So unfortunately, I can't do the job for 6,100. But I tell you what, I will meet you in the middle, and I'll do it for 65. So Yancey, do me a favor when you see him, blah blah blah. Same thing. You end it with the same way. So what you do in that way is you reestablish the value higher than what you quoted. Now, Kip, let it be known that your comfort advisors have to save the customer money 5 times a call in order for this close to work. What that means is, if I'm a comfort advisor and I'm walking through looking at prices, right? I mean, I'm walking through looking at a system. So if I'm the comfort advisor and Kip, you're my customer, and I walk you outside and let's say it's a split system. One of the things I would say is, well, Kip, normally when I price a system like this, I replace this disconnect box here. Now yours is in good shape, Kip. So I tell you what, if you'll allow me to reuse this one instead of me replacing it, that will save you about $350. So Kip, is it possible I can reuse yours since it's in good shape?
Yeah.
So the way your customer heard that was you just saved them $350. Does that make sense? And so if you do that 5 times a call throughout the call, by the time I get to this close and I say, Yancey, I know you, if anything, you've quoted him 7. It's probably an $8,000 job. This customer's starting to go, you know what? He did do that. He is saving me money. He is saving me money. And so when I make a counteroffer, it's more about you going to bat for the customer than it was getting the money. Now, if it was truly a funds issue and they didn't have the money, they are going to come back going, well, Yancey, I told you I only have $6,100. And at that point, you call in and we accept the job. But let's say I offered 65, then here's what the response is. You, as the comfort advisor, go, all right, Scott, well, I appreciate it. We're definitely going to go ahead and do that. Well, I'm supposed to be Jim. That's right, the great Jim. All right, Jim, I appreciate that. We're definitely going to go ahead and do it. So go ahead and put me on tomorrow's schedule, and that saves them $500. So I really appreciate it. And I come back and say, well, that's not a problem. Well, I already told you to tell them thank you and all that crap. So if they got the funds or can get the funds, they'll pay an extra $400 more than they wanted to pay just because you went to bat for them in the way you did. If they don't have the funds, they're going to bring it up again. So those are the 2 main ones you'll use. There is one more. I'll go with you real quick. It's not any of the scripting, and I am recording this call, by the way. This one is not in the scripting. I've only taught it to one sales manager. I was at a location, same location that I was telling you about, the guy named Grady. So Grady calls in, and I was giving a sales class with like 18 salespeople, and the sales manager was in it, and his phone goes off. And I said, what's going on? You want me to tell your wife you love her? And he goes, no, it's not my wife. It's Grady. I said, oh, we got a guy on the call? Here, give it to me. See if I still got it. So I answered it, and I said, hey, Grady. Once I answered it. I said, hey, Grady, this is Scott. Keith is in a meeting. What can I help you with? He said, hey, Scott, 1070. This is Grady, technician 1075. You got a minute? Yep. And so he just went, he went through, the whole close. But here's where he got to. Grady thought he was a manager, and he wasn't, or he misled people like he was. So he said, Scott, I've given a quote out here of $16,000, and with my manager discounts, I'm down to 12. I put my hand over that microphone. I pointed straight at that sales manager, said, I ought to fucking beat you with the Slim Jim. Your people never deserve the right to discount. They only deserve the right to discount on behalf of the customer. I took my finger off the phone. He goes, so with my manager's discount, I'm at 12,000. Basically, I told them the problem we have with the schedule, and they've agreed that they'll allow us to do these 2 systems for $9,000. So, Scott, what I'm asking you, can you help us out and do the 2 systems for $9,000? Now, again, he said it was 1075, right? And so this close wouldn't work if he said, hey, my customer's here listening. So I said, Grady, I said, you know what I like most about you? I said, first of all, you're very detailed. You've been doing this a long time. And, I said, you definitely know what you're doing. And you really go to bat for your customer, trying to get them the best price, negotiated price, right? I said, but let me tell you something. Who in the hell gives you the right to discount a price from $16,000 to $12,000? I said, you said manager discount. You don't deserve the right to discount that much. I said, so what I need you to do, I said, so no, I'm not going to do the job for $9,000. What I need you to do is wrap up your paperwork today and hope for damn sure they don't even take advantage of you at the $12,000. So no, Grady, I'm not going to do it at 9. He said, Scott, I'm sorry they heard all that. They're going to go ahead and do it at 12. So we hung up, and my sales manager looked at me and goes, what the hell is that close? You never taught me. I said, because you should never have to do that close, because you're not allowed to letting your guys discount. So that's why I don't teach that one, because I preach. We do not allow our guys to discount. We only allow them to go to discount on behalf of the customer, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
But obviously it still closed it, because everybody can be closed. You just got to decide whether they want them or not. A lot of information. It was mainly just to bring up the closes to you. I'm going to email them again with this audio. But you have to make sure once these guys are starting to learn, they cannot leave without, going through this. And that's why you got to learn the concession close first. And then you learn the high authority. And you will close at 66% or better, I'm telling you, as long as you're doing this on every call.
You bet. I'm excited for it.
Okay. So then once these are in place, so Kip, real quick, you said, well, what do you recommend for training with the guys? I really don't do much training with my guys don't get me wrong, I train them on the company, I train them on the product and everything, and whatever we have, I let them go sell. If all these things are in place, if they don't close and they're 66% on turnovers and 33 on marketed leads, and if any of these are in place, well, then I do training with them, right? And I train on a lot of different crap, but until all these are in place, I don't waste my time, because most of the time we can hit those numbers just by doing this.
Okay.
So I recommend. Go ahead.
What's your number on the sewers? I'm 30, assuming that
35%.
Okay. So this is the same process.
Yeah.
Everything about it.
Yeah, I expect 90% of all mainline stoppages to get a camera in them. Right? I expect those to be closed at a 35% at whatever your average ticket is. I expect 60% of all branch lines to have some kind of repipe estimate or some kind of jetting estimate, right? And of those 60%, I expect 35% of those to close. And that's of your branch line. So if a kitchen sink stopped up and it's a 3-year-old house, I expect 60% of those to get a quote and 35% of those to be closed at whatever your average ticket is.
Okay.
And if you want that information, go to the Nexstar website, type in sewer sales plan, and it will give you all those KPIs built into that Nexstar sewer sales plan.
Okay. And then, So you have the sales book that I got is from Nate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the process I got from him was basically, we're going to start out and we're going to go through and give them a story about why we came up with this book and why we're going to give you the best option and never exclude you from that, but you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
I just want you to understand. Is there anything there that I'm missing as we go down from
Well,
the?
it's not why we came up with this book. I mean, it is between me and you, but the customer doesn't need to feel that. So the story is designed to let them know that you personally, whoever's presenting this, felt like you were prejudged once in life, and you tell that story. Then once you tell that story that you're prejudged, you say, "I made it a mission that I would never prejudge anybody," and for that, Kip, I'm going to offer you the best heat and air system we have to offer. What I'm going to ask you to do for me is, in the event if you don't want it or can't afford it, either one, just do me a favor and let me know. And if you let me know you don't want the best after I show it to you, that's okay. We'll look at the next one. And if you let me know you don't want that one, that's okay. We'll look at the next. And we'll keep going until we get in something that meets in what you want and your budget. Does that make sense? And you say, yep. And so by doing that, and if you do a great story, well, then the customer, you pull this $24,000 price out. They're now, because if you tell that story, you pull a 24 grand price out, their guard is up. They're like, holy shit, this guy's nuts. Get him out of my house. But if you tell that great story and then you do what I just said there, what happens is they pull that price out. They're like, yeah, no big deal. I don't want it. And then but they don't have their guard up because they know you're not trying to sell it to them. They're more apt to hear everything on that page. And you spend 10 or 15 minutes on that first product, that first best system. And then as you flip the book, you're now comparing the best one to the next. And so it makes it really simple to compare. And the way I told Nate was to present that through something called Foursquare. You don't have to do Foursquare. My top guys used it, but I would say if I had 10 comfort advisors at a shop, probably 2 used it. The others didn't. You don't have to use it. It just
That's where we're not getting it. I don't understand the Foursquare. This is my understanding of it, is that on the comfort survey, the customer says I can pay $150, right?
Yep.
And so if you could put down, hey, I got you, on this 5-star, this qualifies at 153. Is that going to fit your budget, right?
Okay. What you would do is, if you agreed to 150, and that's the goal, if they agree to 150 on the payments, during the survey. So let's say I got to the top product. Let's say it's $230. So
Right.
After I present it, I would say this. So obviously, Kip, I don't expect you to go with this. I'm saying neutral. I don't expect you to go with this because it is $83 more than your budget. Now, I do take in consideration when you told me 150, you were thinking only about the heat and air system. I do understand that. So this one has a humidifier. It's got an air scrubber. It's got whatever it comes with. I don't know what yours has in it, but let's say it's got 4 products more than the heat and air unit. So I say I do take in consideration, Kip, that when you told me 150, you were talking about only the heating and air, and this thing does come with this, and this. So I guess I'll ask you this one question. So Kip, is it worth $83 a month to get these clean air, to get humidity control, whatever it is, to get these items? I don't say the items, I say whatever they're going to get from those items. So is it worth $83 to get that? So you notice I'm getting you to focus on the difference in what you already agreed to pay and what the amount is. And you might say, well, yeah, it is worth 83. And if they say, yeah, great, close it. If they say no, say, all right, let's look at the next one. You flip the page, and then it should have your 5-star and the 4-star next to each other. And since you've done such a good job of educating the 5-star, then the 4-star is simple. You say, well, it's the same system, right? Same warranty. The only thing is this does not come with the humidifier, and this does not come with this. Now this one here, instead of, it's $183 a month. So I guess the question I got you, Kip, is it worth the $33 more than you were willing to spend on the system to get this, and this today? And they might say yeah, they might say no, but here's what happens a lot of times you do it correctly. They go, well, hey, you took the humidifier off. I like the humidifier. Well, if that's the case, then you do this. And what you're telling me, Kip, is you like everything in the 5-star, but you don't like the price. You like the price the 4-star better. Is that what you're saying? Sure. Okay, well, let me ask you this. What if I'm able to call my boss and somehow he agrees to let you have the 5-star for the 4-star price? That saves you about an extra $50 a month. If I was able to get that, what do if I was able to get him to agree to that, what do you think about that? Does that help you? And what if he says no? Okay, you might flip to the 3-star. What if I was able to get you the 5-star for the price of the 3-star? And they start looking at those differences. Now you've saved them $4,000. And that's why that book is written for margins. You're able to do that. You can't do that if it was a 21 SEER for a 14 SEER. You can't do it. But when you got all this other products in there, does that help answer some of that?
Yeah, because right now this is the calls that we get. They don't call for no sales. They call to discount one of these systems from a 5-star to, or whatever.
Well,
So,
are they locking it down before they call you? I mean, are they getting the customer to already agree to it and agree to a time and install before they call you?
I don't think so, and I'm not positive on that, and that's a part of our process that we're lacking right now.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm okay if they call if they get locked down. Here's what I say when they call me. Like if I have a guy that calls me a lot and says, "Hey Scott, here's where I'm at. Customer wants to do this, but they want to still think about it." And if they say they'll do it at this price, but if they don't have time locked down, you ready for this? This is my most famous words I say. I go, "Let me know how that turns out," and I turn my phone off. And every time they call me and go, "What the fuck was that?" I said, "You're exactly right. That's what I was saying. That's not what you should never call me until you lock the damn time down. Don't waste my time. I'm not going to waste yours." I just say, "Yep, let me know how it turns out." I just turn my phone off. Let him deal with it in the field. He ain't getting the sale. I don't care. He's got to learn from it.
So let's say things are, we're a week to 2 weeks out. Let's just say that we're right now in the dead of winter. We've got installs, but the more that we can gather, the more we can gather, right?
Yeah.
So, what would you do different at that point? And hey, customer wants to take the next available appointment instead of tomorrow. Is it just next week?
Yeah. It's no different me saying, well, normally at this point we're booked out 3 weeks. Right now we're only booked out 2. I'm still going to use the same excuse. But my companies don't get in that spot because here's the key. You're going to see one of the things I'm going to talk about on Super Me and Stage is 80% of my install crews have 2 lead guys. So if I have 10 crews, 80% of those is 2 lead guys to help 2 lead guys together. 20% is a lead and a helper. So at any given time in my business, I can almost double my install with just throwing a few helpers in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Every time I got to where I was booked out, if I started getting booked out on the 3rd day, I freaked out and I split my install crews. So if you're booked out 2 weeks, I would be vomiting right now because that makes me very nervous. I got sick when I got above 72. So yeah, one of the things you're going to hear me talk about on stage is our installers are like surgeons. Our job is to prepare everything from their tray to everything together and make their job as easy as possible. They show up and do the operation, they go home. And I'm okay with putting 2 surgeons together. Therefore, I can split, and I will overpay, right? But I have the ability to install a hell of a lot more than the average company by doing it that way.
Okay.
I think what I should do for you, because our time is up, and obviously you're hungry and you want more. I think probably what I can do is I'll do a private video of how to present. I'll just draw on my screen. It's going to be with a mouse and paint, so it's not going to be pretty. Of how do you present Foursquare, and then I'll go through and show you the few closes. Here's how you do it, and maybe send you a video of it, and then you can just watch it.
That'd be awesome.
That'll be awesome.
Okay. Because unfortunately I got to go, and we kept Jim. I don't know if you had a call or not, but we rambled over.
That's okay. I just rebooked my call, but Foursquare. I'm just trying to think. I haven't played Foursquare since fucking kindergarten. So what the hell?
It's exactly what it is. It looks like that. I was taught Foursquare by a guy, the #1 in-home salesman I've ever met in my life, and what's amazing is if once you learn it right and you use it, it's truly an amazing closing tool as long as your price book is built for it. And if if Kip's using a price book similar to Nathan's and Grappid's, well then it's built for it. Now the issue you're going to have is all your people that have been in in-home sales forever, they think they know it, are going to have issues using it because I've never heard of it. This is crazy. This is nuts. But if you get a sales guy, a guy that you hire in, never sold this industry and, is open-minded, once he learns it, it's truly an amazing closing tool.
I've never seen it. I'd love to see that. That'd be awesome. Send me a copy of whatever you got.
Well, Well, I don't have any copies. I'll have to do a video and I'll do it and then send y'all. So Kip, can you send me your most recent price book so maybe I can pull it up on the screen and I'll go through presenting whatever the top prize is, top page is, and I'll go through the things your comfort advisor has to do 5 times a call. Like they got to save me money 5 times a call. They got to call me smart 5 times a call. There are certain things that you have to get them in habit of doing, which sets this book up for success.
That was another question and you can just throw this in there, but how to save them money 5 times a call when we've got a set book? So just a little explanation on that one.
All right. Well, it is a set book, but like this, your price book itself, right? Your customer doesn't know what comes in this price book. They don't know if they open this book. They don't know if that has a concrete pad in it or not. Does it?
No.
Right. So when you go to price it, you tell them this. Like for example, if I said, Kip, normally a job like this, I replaced the concrete pad, but yours is in good shape. So if you'll allow me to reuse this, right, that will save you $400. So can I reuse this? All they're hearing is, I don't have to pay $500 or whatever the amount was, and this guy found that for me. That's a nice guy. By the time I get to the price book, it makes sense to them because they don't know that you don't add a concrete pad on top of that.
Got it.
So that's why, we can't read into it and say we might give a concrete pad away with it. That's fine. They don't know that you don't take this price book and add the concrete pad and add this and add that because it's not listed in your notes, is it? It doesn't say it comes with a pad. It doesn't say it comes with a disconnect. So that's why it makes sense to them. All right. I will do the video.
Scott, thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. I hate that I just rambled and went over shit and didn't share my screen, but I will email Jim. I'll email everybody here the scripts. I'm sure you got them anyway, but I'll just email them to you. And then when I do the video, you'll email me your book, your price book. When I do the video, I'll do a video on how to present your price page, how do you go in between books, and how do you use Foursquare.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
All righty. Well, thank you, Yancey. Pleasure meeting you. Hey, you know what you need? You know what you need to do, Yancey? Have the mentality of doing this. Don't have the mentality of saying, I'm going to try what Scott says and see if it works. I would rather you have the mentality of saying, I'm going to do exactly like that sumbitch says and prove to him it doesn't work. Because by doing it that way, I have no doubt you'll be successful.
Well, I'm going to do it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Y'all have a good one. I'll get this to you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Bye-bye.